Okay, I seem to have managed to start this without actually talking and having it on video. So I've got a piece of bark here, a piece of tree trunk, which will go on the fire eventually. But I thought rather than burn it straight away, we'd have a little look at it and see if we can do some mark making. And I was just saying, when I realised that I wasn't actually recording, that every species of tree is different, and then every tree, the bark is different. So it's like our fingerprints, nothing is ever the same, which is why it's so interesting. And obviously when you're drawing trees, it's always good to try and put a few marks in for the bark. Sometimes it's just nice to look at the bark on its own, just see what you can do, and you'll end up with hopefully a rather nice sort of abstract design. It doesn't really matter if nobody knows what it is. It's just noticing what's going on. The thing with doing it like this is it's really tiring for my hand. Never mind. So, here now. I've got a friend, Elena, who does the most beautiful drawings of twigs. She's sort of, it's her kind of latest project really. She's kind of drawing twigs, making twigs, binding them up in fabric, doing all kinds of amazing things. So I might see if I can find a link to her website for you to have a look at, because it's really beautiful what she's doing. She's been making fabric, sort of like almost like lichen or something as well. Just really clever. A bit of moss there, sort of dead moss, but it's definitely moss. It's kind of scaly. I can imagine this getting up and walking off somehow. So that's with that. I'm now going to use on this page, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the graphite pencil, which is going to be a bit different. It's actually in a little kind of watercolour sketchbook, so it's not necessarily ideal, but it's okay. So it's quite nice to sort of draw using different materials. You could use different materials on the same drawing, or you could, like I'm doing, do separate drawings. Just sort of find out. So what you're doing is you're finding out what the benefits and the challenges of that particular drawing material are, as well as looking at the bark and all the weird little patterns. And then what I'm going to do, just to finish off, because I do have a little brush here, I've got a bit of watercolour paint left over from doing some painting before. Put some water on it and just have a go at doing the bark with that, see how that goes. I'm going to do it down here, I think. Amazing how scaly some bits look. I used to keep turkeys, and I always used to say they were the missing link between reptiles and birds, because their heads it looks like scales, but it's actually feathers, but it's these little sort of bumps. When you stroke them, they're really soft and sort of a bit furry, but actually they look like they could be made of, you know, skin or something. It's quite extraordinary. I quite like using the bit of watercolour paint, because then you can do some darker bits. It's easier to do the darker and the lighter bits. And then what you could do, of course, is then add something else on top. So I could do this forever, but I've got 101 things to do. But hopefully this will give you an idea of different ways of, well, first of all, looking. It's quite relaxing doing this, so just find yourself a log or a twig that you can bring in, or if you can't bring one in, just go and take a photo and have the photo in front of you. It's quite nice actually having something real in front of me though, even though I know in a minute I'm going to go and put it on the fire, but never mind. I would say it will survive, but obviously it won't. But right, so hopefully that's giving you a bit of an idea. So there we are, that's what I've done. So we've got the narrow drawing pan, watercolour and graphite pencil.